guys, this is Arianne and I'm gonna talk about how I retired in less than 10 years. So what I want to do is tell you guys exactly how I did it step by step and how I went from $50,000 in debt, making minimum wage, to more than $10,000 a month in passive income by the age of 27. And that all of that happened within 10 years or less. So I really want to share this with you guys. And in the beginning, I was thinking, who really wants to hear my story? But you know what? If it just helps one of you, if one of the tips I share here in this video on how I did that helps one of you get closer to financial freedom, or even realize that financial freedom is possible for you and it doesn't have to be this 30-year journey, then I would be very happy. So throughout the video, I'm gonna give you some tips, and some of the things might be something you've never even heard of. So that would be great if you can tune in. And at the very end, I'll share what I would have changed or maybe done better if I could do it all over again. So let's get started. So starting out, I was born in the Philippines, and ever since I was young, we had some family issues, and I really wanted to be able to make money so I can provide for my family. And in my head back when I was young, I thought that if I could do that, I could eliminate some of these issues. And so I really wanted to figure out how I can get some money, get a good job so that I can help my family. So my first stint making money was my uncle had a computer shop and he needed help editing IDs and formatting them to sell to companies. So I actually did that. I worked part-time with him. I would learn how to format the IDs, and then he would then go and pay me. And so that helped me see that, oh, I can actually provide value and I can get paid. Also, in my high school years, I was part of a band. It's called Band the Kawayan. And there we practiced a lot with the group, and then we were able to perform at different conferences or venues, and we would get compensated for it. So even from my early years, I had a real desire to learn how to make money, and I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do so. And that taught me the value of hard work and perseverance, and it showed me that if you did something that you loved, that if you put your heart into it, you worked hard, that you can make good money doing whatever it is that you wanted. Okay, so when I was 16, my family moved from the Philippines to New Zealand. And I was so excited because I learned that in New Zealand, I could actually work at a real job, right, at a call center. So I got this part-time job at the call center through the last year of high school and all of undergrad. So I was working 12 to 24 hours a week there, and I was able to not only contribute to the family expenses, I was able to save money to pay for my college. So that was awesome. And then after that, I went on to do grad school as a speech language pathologist. My younger sister has autism, and that was what opened up my eyes to, hey, I can be this therapist that could help other people with special needs or other adults with needs. And so that's what I did. Now, in grad school, it was super intense. It was a 2-year intense program, and there was full-time classes, and we had to do internships every other time, right? So I couldn't keep my call center job anymore. So unfortunately, that made me rack up some student loan debt because I couldn't earn enough money to keep paying for my school anymore. I was able to get summer internships in between semesters, so I was able to save about $10,000 per summer because I worked full-time for a professor doing that. So that was my undergrad and grad school life. So by the end of grad school, I would have had hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt, but thankfully I was saving up throughout high school and undergrad to actually pay for some of that. So I only had $50,000 in grad school debt. So that was the end of that. Okay, so what's next? What's next is I met this guy online in a game. And you're like, what? Yes, that's what happened. I met my now husband online. He was living in Florida, I was living in New Zealand. We met in a game, and that's the start of our relationship. So it actually worked out. We've been married like 6 years now. So don't worry. But I used to not tell this story before because people would give me looks and they're like, uh, sure, yeah, that's gonna work out. Anyway, so that was the start of our happily ever after, right? Because that's what everybody tells you to do. Get a good job, marry the love of your life, you're all set. And here we were, we just got married, we were living in Florida, we just started our first jobs, right? He was a software developer and I was a speech language pathologist. And to everybody else in the world, they're like, man, you guys made it, right? Like, those are really nice careers with really nice salaries. And yes, it was true. But then we realized that, hold on, there's something wrong with this picture. My family still lived in New Zealand and the Philippines, and his family lives here in Florida. And the careers we had were very demanding careers. His was a little bit more flexible because he could actually work from home, but I had to be at the skilled nursing facility I was working at pretty much all the time. I had paid time off, but it was really hard to get time off. And to go visit New Zealand, it would take at least 2 days just to get there, and then another 2 days to get back. So you really needed at least 2 weeks to even just be there and see people and come back. And so we realized that, we needed to do something different. We needed actual financial freedom to be able to see both sides of our family. And we were thinking, what's going to happen when we have kids? Are they never going to see one side of their family because we have to choose where we live? So that was the start of our financial freedom journey. When we realized that, we really started looking for, hey, what can we do so we can have the life we actually want? And the life we wanted was pretty simple. We wanted to see our families, especially when we had kids. We wanted them to be involved with both sides of the family. So that's what we did. We started researching and started figuring out how we could potentially retire early. And in the beginning, our plan was just for one of us to go part-time so we can spend some time with the kids, and then maybe Chris could still work from home and do all that. Anyway, we started researching, and what we found was real estate investing, right? We saw that through real estate investing, we could get passive income that pays for all of our needs and our wants, including traveling overseas. And with that, we were hooked. We were like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna learn about real estate investing, get passive income, and retire early. So that's the start of this passive income journey, right? So I was 23 at the time when we made that realization. And we still had the $50,000 in student loan debt. Remember, Chris married into my student loan debt, my husband. And we just started on this journey, and we knew the first thing we wanted to do was get rid of all that debt because it had a high interest rate, and we didn't want that to drag us down, and we just didn't feel like we could be confident investing if we still had all that debt baggage. So we were both working good jobs, and we decided that we weren't gonna spend a lot of money on lifestyle changes. We weren't gonna let lifestyle creep take control of our money. So we still lived very, very simply. We had a little apartment, and overall our expenses was $2,500 a month or less. And we were both making reasonable salaries. So we saved about $5,000 each month, which was about 67% of our take-home pay at the time. So we started doing that. After a year, we were able to pay off our student loan at $50K, and then we were able to save some more money to start investing. So at 24, that was 2015 that year, we started just learning everything we possibly could. We were on Bigger Pockets all the time, watching podcasts and reading forum posts and figuring out how we could buy rental properties. I ended up getting my real estate license because we were submitting like lower offers on all of these properties that were listed on the market, and the realtors were kind of getting tired of us submitting low offers, right? So I just became our own realtor because I didn't mind submitting low offers. They weren't really that low, right? They were reasonable. It was just, it takes a lot of offers to get one good rental property or any other property you're buying, right? If you want to buy it at the right price, you have to expend a lot of energy and submit a lot of offers to get that one good deal because it just takes a long time. So anyway, at 24, so we paid off our student loan debt the year before, and then now we have about $60,000 saved up. So we actually bought our first property from on market, right? Like here in the US, it's called the MLS, the multiple listing service. If you're in a different country, it's probably called something different. But anyway, we found our first property on the MLS and we bought it with cash. Now, we were still renting at the time, so even though we bought this property as if we were buying a rental, right? We were running the rental numbers to buy this property. We ended up being our first tenant. So it was actually technically our primary residence, but we just bought the property with the intent of renting it out later. And so we treated it like a rental in that very first year, right? We were our first tenant. We calculated all the expenses needed for this property, and we were paying ourselves rent. So that's what we did. And we learned about something really, really cool, and it's called the delayed financing exemption. Basically, if you buy a property with cash or something cash-like, like a private loan from somebody else, then you could refinance all of your cash back out within as quick as 4 to 6 weeks. So for us, it was about 4 weeks. We bought the property, we started the financing, the delayed financing exemption, and we bought that property for $55,000. And because we bought it with a little bit of a discount, because remember we were submitting all of these offers over and over, we actually got something that we got a good discount on. We were able to pull out all the $55,000 back out. So we have this one property, right? We paid $55,000, and then in 30 days we got our $55,000 back out. So we had this free rental property that we were our first renters, and we still had the extra $55,000. So that was like awesome, right? So after that, we were hooked, right? Because with us, we were already making like $250 to $300 a month in passive income, treating us as our own tenants. And so we started looking for more deals. We kept making more offers, and within 2 months, we got another property under contract. And that was a house. It actually already came with a tenant. They were paying $1,000 a month. We bought the house for $72,000, and we did the delayed financing exemption again. So we used $72,000 to buy it, and then we pulled out $72,000 all back out. So we had no money into those two properties. And we were like, this is great, right? Let's buy more. Now those first two rental properties didn't hardly need any work at all. So, like maybe it needed a little bit of cleaning, but it was pretty much rent ready. But the third one we ended up buying another couple months after needed a lot more work, right? It needed a new roof, it needed a lot of renovations, and even though we had all the intentions of making it a rental property, by the time we fixed everything up, the delayed financing exemptions could only take out up to 75% of what the house is worth and your initial investment into the property. So anyway, by the time we put in like $40,000 into the property, we couldn't really rent it out at a price that would make sense. And we couldn't pull our money out because it just didn't work out with the delayed financing exemption. So what we ended up doing was we partnered up with somebody, one of Chris's coworkers, right? And they funded some of the renovation costs, and then we ended up flipping that house. So we flipped that house. We made between like $35,000 to $40,000, and our lender made a good interest rate. And then we actually, because he was our very first lender for real estate deals, we gave him a good chunk of the equity on the flip. So he was super happy. But anyway, after that, we saw that, hey, this is $35,000 to $40,000. We could just do this full time, and that would give us the flexibility to go visit our family overseas when we wanted to. And so we talked about it. We realized that I should probably end up doing that first, because remember, my job wasn't very flexible, whereas Chris's job, he could work from home, and he could really work from home anywhere. So that was the plan. We were gonna flip more houses, and then I would quit my job and just do flipping houses full time. So that's the path we went on. We flipped that one house, and we were trying to learn, hey, how do we flip more houses? We ended up meeting a person at a real estate investment club, which is now a good friend of ours, and he invited us to this conference called Flip Hacking Live. And I have another video about Flip Hacking Live if you want to check it out. But when we got there, we saw that, hey, you can actually make this house flipping thing a business. And we were totally blown away, because we saw people who were flipping like 100 houses a year, and here we were with one flip under our belt, right? So we were like, let's do that. So we started learning from them even more, right? We went to their event, we joined their training program, and the year after that, we were able to flip about 15 houses, and then we wholesaled another 35 houses. So we did about 50 deals that year. And that was like amazing, right? Like, here we were, I was able to quit my job, we had this business, and the money was great. But what we realized was we didn't really have the freedom, the time freedom that we wanted, because even though flipping houses makes a lot of money, it's a lot of active income, meaning I have to show up there and manage the contractors or find deals. If I stop doing that, then the money stopped. Now, there is a way to do that with team members, and we do this now. We have team members who do that for us, but even that is still active, because you still have to hire and train and manage those team members. So after we did that for a year or two, I was 26, 27 at this time. We said, look, we wanted time freedom. We want financial freedom, which to us means passive income comes in each and every month without us having to do any work. And we started out that way, right? We bought rentals, but we kind of got sidetracked with the flipping business, and we said, hey, let's go back to what we actually wanted to do. We didn't shut down the flipping business, but we just focused more on actually buying rental properties that gives us passive income. And throughout these years, we still kept living at the same expense ratio we had. Every time we got, Chris got a raise at his job, or we made more money flipping houses, we would still only spend about $2,500 or less a month. So our savings grew and grew and grew. Not to mention, as we bought more houses, the equity from those houses we were able to save and capture. Now, when we lived in our first house, remember, we bought that first townhouse for $55,000. After 2 years of living there, we were able to sell it for no capital gains taxes, right? And that was amazing, because we bought that townhouse for $55,000. We put in about $20,000 into it, and we sold it for about $120,000. So we got, after closing costs and everything, about $30,000 to $40,000 in income, in money, that we didn't have to pay taxes on. Now, usually when we did flips, we would pay a lot of taxes on those, because we had to pay for self-employment tax, we had to pay for income tax. So by the time we sold the flip, like what we actually got back was maybe 50%, and when we had team members it was more like maybe 20%. But anyway, the great thing about when you own a primary residence, right? If you live in a house in the US for 2 years or more, you can sell that tax free. You can sell that, and if you make money on it, the gains are tax free. So that helped boost our savings or in our investment funds a lot. So after we sold our first primary residence, we then bought a new primary residence. So we found a fixer-upper. We bought it for about $90,000. We put $30,000 of renovation in. So we were all in it for about $120,000. And we got a home equity line of credit on that house. When the appraiser came by from the bank, they said that the house was worth $200,000 after we fixed it up. So that's awesome, right? We were able to get an 80% loan to value on the home equity line of credit, meaning that since the house appraised for $200,000, we were able to get 80% of that as a line of credit. So $160,000, which is amazing because remember, we only had $120,000 into it. So we were able to get all of our $120,000 back in the form of a line of credit and an extra $40,000 that we could use for other investments. So we did that. And like I said, we kept growing the business, but when I was 26, this was about 2015, we said, hey, let's go and start learning about buying rental properties again and focus more on that. So we started learning about buying multifamily properties. And we kind of did the same thing with the single family stuff, right? We submitted a lot of offers, and finally, we found a 24-unit multifamily property that we could buy. We bought that for $1.3 million. We needed about $350,000 for the 25% down payment. And thankfully, from years and years and years of saving, and like I said, selling our primary residence to get like a $40,000 tax-free gain, we had $335,000. So we bought that 24 unit, and that was amazing because that got us to $10,000 a month in passive income. And when we got there, we were like, wow, this is amazing. Chris actually still had his software developer job before we bought that, and he left that job after we closed because then we were at a point where the passive income pays for our needs, our wants, and then more. $10,000 a month for us means that we can pay for all of our bills, and we can pay for all the travel that we want to do to see our family whenever we wanted to. So that was that, right? We got from $50,000 in debt, making minimum wage, to now at the age of 27, we have 24 rental units that get us $10,000 a month in passive income. At the time, we also had a flipping and wholesaling business that did 100 plus houses a year. And now we're still keeping on growing that, both of those businesses. We're actually up to 51 rental properties now in our backyard. We also partnered with other people, and we have ownership in about 1,200 units across the Southeast. And that boosts our passive income a lot too. And right now, our wholesaling and flipping business now has a great team that runs that on their own without a lot of my input. And so they do 100 plus houses each year. So that's what we're doing now. And the reason I share this is so that you can see that no matter where you're coming from right now, maybe you do have tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Maybe you're making a minimum dollar wage. Maybe you're not in a place where you see your life being just like we were a few years ago. What I want you to see from this is that it's possible. Getting financial freedom is possible. Making more income is possible. It first starts with you realizing that you can do it. And that's what I want to tell you. If I can do it, you can do it too. So I said I'd talk about what I would have done differently, right? And here's a few things. You heard that we kind of got distracted from our goal, right? We were buying rental properties and then we were like, ooh, shiny object, flipping houses. Let's go flip houses. And it still worked out, right? We flipped houses and then we turned around and did a 360 and went back to rental properties. And I wouldn't change that experience for anything because that showed me so much about myself, helped me become a better person, helped me become a better leader. Because growing a company that's kind of high stress, like a flipping and wholesaling business, really makes you build your character. Because believe me, there were a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of stressful nights where I couldn't sleep because it was like, oh, there's so much. If you just imagine 100 houses a year, right? There's so many expenses. There's so much money flying in and out each month that I really had to grow a lot as a person, and I had to grow a lot as just a financial manager of our personal lives in our business. So I wouldn't change it for the world. But what I would, if I could do it all over again, I would say instead of getting distracted and stopping the whole rental property acquisition process, I would have done, I would have it's like divide and conquer, right? Chris and I would have divided and conquered sooner. Because in the beginning, when we did that house flipping and wholesaling business, both of us were trying to do everything we could in that. And we actually, it didn't work out as well as we hoped because we were both introverts and we kind of have similar strengths just in the sales and marketing business, which is what a flipping and wholesaling business is. We both liked running numbers. We were introverts, so we didn't like talking to people. So we were kind of doubling up on a lot of things. So what I would have changed is we would have kept a separate focus, right? I could have focused on the wholesaling and flipping business, and he could have focused on the rental and multifamily business, which is what we do now, right? We have separate focuses. And doing that, we would have gotten to financial freedom even sooner than the age of 27. Because if we just replicated what we were doing with buying those two rentals in the beginning, right, with the same money, we would have gotten there probably in 2 years or 3 years. We would have gotten there so much sooner, and it wouldn't have had to be super stressful because when we needed $350,000 to buy that 24 unit all at the same time, that was pretty much all we had. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it was like, like 6 years of savings and grinding. So if we just did that house by house by house like we were doing in the beginning, maybe we could have done duplex, triplex, and fourplex, right? Let's say that we were buying fourplexes one at a time. Instead of needing $335,000 all at once to buy 6 fourplexes, which makes 24 units, we could have just bought one fourplex every 6 months, right? And we wouldn't have needed $335,000. It would have been 1/6 of that, right? It would have been like $40,000 or $50,000 at a time. So it would have been a lot less stressful, and we wouldn't have had to invest everything we absolutely had into one deal all at once. And look, if we didn't have $335,000, maybe we wouldn't have done that deal, right? So that's what I would have done differently. One, we would have focused on 2 different things that we both wanted, right? Instead of joining forces on one. And that's mainly because we have similar strengths. If you and your partner, you and your spouse have completely separate strengths, right? Maybe one's really good at talking to people and marketing and sales, and one's really good at operations and running the numbers, then great, maybe do one thing. But we had similar strengths. We both didn't like talking to people, and we both like running the numbers. So whenever we were in one same business, we would just do the same thing, which didn't help, right? We would just redo the same thing over and over and over. And focusing on different businesses actually helped us grow more as people and helped us progress that business so much further. So that's one. And then number 2, we would have done the buying of the rentals gradually instead of buying 2, stopping for 3 years, and then buying 24, because that was very stressful when we were doing that. We could have done it gradually and worked our way up there, and we would have gotten there sooner with a lot less stress. So there we have it. That's how we went from $50,000 in debt, making minimum wage, to $10,000 or more a month in passive income. And by the way, by the time we got those 24 units, we made it. We were millionaires, right? So if you're interested in millionaire or not, we made that too. Personally, I look at financial freedom more as, does my passive income pay for my needs, my wants, and everything I could possibly imagine needing, right? And that's what I see more as financial freedom, because you have true time freedom. I could choose to go to New Zealand for 3 months, and we would still have passive income that comes in without really much of an input from us. Whereas if that was active income and I had to show up to work every day to get, $10,000 a month or more, it could be $50,000 a month, but I would be tied to that income, right? Whatever activity I need to do to get that money. So that was a long story. If you're still here, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you got something out of this. And this is the reason we started this channel, is because once we got passive income, so last year we were so blessed. We went to New Zealand, Australia, Hawaii, and the Philippines with our family. We spent 3 months overseas just traveling. And one day we realized that we had what we wanted and we were able to give back. I remember sitting at one of my friend's churches in Australia, because she invited us, and they were raising money for something, and we were able to give to that cause, and it just hit me. What if we could help more people realize that financial freedom is possible for them? And number two, show them the tips, steps, and strategies that we use to get there. Just imagine what kind of place, what kind of world we would have. We would have so many people who were happy and able to do what they really want to do in life, right? Retiring early doesn't mean you don't do work. Not at all. That's really boring. And you can only travel for so many months. At some point, you're gonna find something you're passionate about, and you can do it without needing to figure out how much that pays, right? You can actually work a job that you have so much passion for that it doesn't matter what they pay you. And once you have enough passive income, you can use that to give to the causes that you want to support. So that's why we started this channel. That's why, and I say we because my husband does all of the editing and all of that, and I create the content and film it, right? That's why we did this, because we want amazing people like you to live the life they really want, to live their purpose. And we know that once you have passive income that pays for your needs and your wants and even more, you're going to make the world an even better place than it is now. And if this content was helpful to you at all, please click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell, because that bell's gonna tell you every time I post new videos like this. I'd also love to know what you thought about this video, and I know I tend to kind of ramble a little bit sometimes. If there was something that was unclear, please comment in the comment below, and I'd love to see what you want me to maybe dig into, or maybe you have a question about something I said. I'd love to create some more videos about content that you specifically want me to make. So I'm looking forward to next time. I'll see you guys. You have a great day.